I watched my friend get shot in the neck. Yeah, that's what happened. I just want to say that he was publicly executed again before the world. The question is why, right?
September 10th, Utah Valley University. Everything looks normal at first glance, but the vibe is way off. The air feels tight, charged, like something big is about to pop off. Thousands of people pack the open quad, shoulder to shoulder, barely any space to move, all buzzing with wild energy. Hats are waving, phones are up, people are streaming live like they don't want to miss a single second. This isn't just some regular speech. It's turning into a full-on spectacle.
Whenever the authority says something and not prod any further. We can't allow that to happen here. I won't allow that to happen here because this something terrible has traumatized the world, okay? And I feel as though when it comes to this, the media, the government, the talking heads, everyone is confusing us about what actually took place with
the kind of surreal, almost unreal gathering that pulls people in and keeps them locked in. Right in the middle of it all sits Charlie Kirk, calm on the surface, but clearly in control, working the crowd like it's second nature. His delivery is sharp, his comebacks polished, every move calculated. His hands cut through the air with purpose, and his words flow smooth, like nobody can touch him. And then, bang! A sharp, shocking crack rips through the air like it doesn't belong there.
And I want to be very clear that I believe, in fact, I know that towards the end, Charlie was fighting for custody of himself. I want to say that. I want to say that plainly. And there are lies that are being told and they need to be slapped down right now.
For a split second, people just freeze, confused, unsure if what they heard was even real. But that doubt disappears fast. The reality hits all at once, heavy and terrifying. One precise shot coming from somewhere no one can see sends everything spiraling. Heads snap in every direction, people shouting, screaming, trying to make sense of it. Chaos breaks out instantly. Kirk jerks to the side and collapses into his chair as a dark stain spreads across his collar. Security rushes the stage in a panic, moving fast but clearly caught off guard.
You're telling me that this kid who's not military trained, this guy, first of all, how did he get to the roof? How come nobody was looking? How come nobody was like, there's a direct line of sight between where he's sitting and those roofs? You guys didn't check? You don't have a drone? Like, that's insane. So he's on the roof, he shoots, he jumps from the roof, he jumps down 14.
All around, the crowd loses control. People drop low, scrambling, pushing, trying to get out however they can. What was just seconds ago loud and electric is now pure fear. The rally flips into something unrecognizable, something horrifying. A college campus turns into a live-streamed nightmare with shaking phones capturing every second, hands trembling as confusion spreads across screens everywhere. And just like that...
Like, the more they keep looking into it, the more they're like, this doesn't feel like a real... It feels super fabricated.
But here's the thing. Just like I was talking about when people are arguing on social media, it's all part of the plan. If you want...
Everything changes in an instant. This isn't just random violence. It feels staged, almost unreal. Like a message is being sent, loud and impossible to ignore. It turns into a viral nightmare, blowing up across every feed like wildfire. Clips spread fast, people replaying the moment over and over, trying to figure out what just happened. Some say it was just a lone sniper, a single bullet and nothing more. But others start throwing around darker ideas, talking like this could be the start of something way bigger.
Toast. But she didn't call for war. Erica did not call for war. In fact, she did the exact opposite, which is what was so stunning. It was unbelievable. The forgiveness that she granted, the strength that it took for her to call for that forgiveness, it's just unmatched, and it really made a difference. And I was being serious when I tweeted that I think it was the most consequential speech in American history.
The whole country feels frozen for a second, like everyone's waiting for answers that don't come quick enough. Suspicion moves faster than any headline, racing through timelines and group chats. And then, just like that, attention shifts hard in one direction. All eyes land on one person, Kirk's widow, Erica. First seen at the hospital, then later standing quietly at a growing memorial, drawing more attention with every appearance. She steps right into the spotlight, front and center, with cameras locked on her every move. Every angle, every blink, every tiny reaction gets picked apart in real time. Her face stays composed, her posture tight and controlled. Tears barely show, and to a lot of people watching, something feels off. They start saying she looks too prepared, too polished, almost like she knew exactly how this moment would play out. When she speaks to the press, her tone is sharp and steady, almost like a formal statement. She thanks the first responders for their fast, heroic response and makes it clear her husband's mission will keep going no matter what.
Information to research and to investigate, and nothing is making sense. Now, it could not be making sense because we've not arrived at the conclusion. The FBI, I will say, has recently come out and said they're looking for another person. Good, because what we have so far obviously cannot be it. I feel
Every word lands clean, no stumbles, no cracks, just calm control under pressure. But that's where the chatter really kicks off. Her grief doesn't come across as raw or chaotic like people expect. It feels structured, almost old school in a way, like something out of a black and white photo, where everything looks composed and dignified. She holds her chin high, standing firm in front of the cameras, showing strength even in a brutal moment. At the same time, she keeps a close grip on protecting her two children, focused on honoring her husband's memory while holding together the image and legacy he left behind. For a brief second, people almost believe it. Maybe things will stay quiet, respectful, low-key, a calm moment to grieve. But that idea doesn't last long at all.
And he was publicly executed. I want to make that clear. Charlie Kirk was publicly executed before the world. And as we are all searching for answers, the ones that are being supplied to us are not making a lot of sense. And some people, I would say, are speaking too much, are speaking on behalf of other people.
The illusion cracks fast and hard. Then Candace Owens steps in early, way before the funeral, before the flowers even have time to wilt. She hits the scene fast, like a sudden jolt of energy that shifts everything. Out of nowhere, her presence is everywhere you look. Her face starts popping up across platforms, dominating right-leaning podcast charts, covering YouTube thumbnails, and looping nonstop in TikTok edits packed with her intense, rapid-fire takes. Her name starts trending across X, gaining momentum by the hour. Her show climbs all the way to number 2 on Spotify, closing in on the very space Kirk once held. It feels like a race against time, with attention building fast as she keeps his name in constant circulation and refuses to let it slip out of the spotlight. Candace doesn't lean into quiet sorrow at all. She flips the tone completely. What could have been a somber moment turns into something intense, almost like a public showdown. Her podcast episodes come in strong, sounding more like bold accusations than reflection, with lines like, "Who ordered the hit on Charlie Kirk?" and "They are lying about Charlie Kirk," hitting hard and fast. She blends emotion and intensity, raising tough questions while keeping her delivery sharp and controlled. Her voice cuts through the noise, grabbing attention with every sentence. And then comes the line that really sticks, the one people can't stop replaying. She suggests Kirk was betrayed by his pillow. That single phrase lands heavy, leaving a cloud of speculation hanging in the air. She never directly names anyone, but the implication gets people talking. It's subtle but powerful, pushing conversations in a certain direction without making a clear accusation. She stays right on that edge, keeping the tension alive and the spotlight burning bright. She leaves it hanging there, almost challenging the audience to piece it together themselves. People start connecting dots, filling in gaps, and running with their own versions of the story. The result, a country split right down the middle. On one side, Erica stands calm and composed, almost statuesque, presenting a steady, controlled image that doesn't crack under pressure. On the other side, Candace comes in intense and fired up, delivering emotional tributes while also throwing out sharp, uncomfortable questions. The contrast is impossible to ignore. At this point, nobody can act like nothing's happening. The divide is out in the open, clear as day. What started as tension has now turned into a full-blown public clash, with sides forming and attention locked in. And don't forget, Candace Owens isn't just reacting to a loss, she's carrying old tension with her. Years back, she lost her place at a major political organization after making comments that stirred serious backlash and pushed her out of that circle. That fallout didn't just disappear, it stuck with her, and now it's showing as she steps back into the spotlight with a lot of intensity. She's not buying the official version of events at all. In her telling, the story being shared publicly doesn't add up, and she pushes that idea hard. She questions whether the alleged shooter, Tyler Robinson, really fits the picture being presented, pointing out that there's no widely confirmed footage placing him at the scene during the moment itself. From there, she builds a much darker narrative. She describes a scenario involving a different figure entirely. Someone positioned above, dressed in tactical-style gear, almost like something out of a heavily planned operation. It's a dramatic claim, and it grabs attention fast. Owens keeps the pressure on, suggesting that federal investigators may be pushing local authorities to close things quickly. She frames it like key details could be getting overlooked or buried before the public has time to fully question them. Then she doubles down, going over gaps she sees in the timeline, highlighting inconsistencies and keeping the spotlight locked on everything that doesn't quite line up. She points to more things that don't seem to line up. According to her, the supposed murder weapon doesn't match what eyewitnesses described at the scene. She brings up claims that the bullet fragments are too damaged to clearly trace, raising more questions instead of answers. Then there's the man in custody. She argues his description doesn't fully match what some people say they saw that day. From her perspective, the whole situation starts to look off. She suggests the narrative feels rushed, like pieces were put together too, quickly, almost like a cleanup effort after the fact. That idea alone is enough to get people talking and second-guessing what they've heard. But this is where Candace really knows how to hold attention. She leans into uncertainty and unanswered questions, using them to keep people hooked. She doesn't present everything as proven fact. Instead, she highlights gaps and lets her audience wrestle with them. Every missing detail becomes something people want to solve for themselves. It turns into more than just grief. It becomes a movement of people trying to figure out what they believe really happened. Meanwhile, Kirk's own podcast flips into something almost symbolic, like a digital shrine people keep returning to. It climbs straight to #1, pulling in massive attention. Big political names show up one after another: Tucker Carlson, Glenn Beck, J.D. Vance, each taking a turn behind the mic, speaking with intensity about legacy, justice, and carrying things forwards in Kirk's name. Their tone stays controlled and polished, delivering strong, emotional tributes while keeping everything structured and on message. It feels organized, like a unified front honoring someone they see as a major figure. But Candace moves in a completely different lane. She doesn't follow that same script at all. Her show rises fast right behind his, charged with emotion and driven by sharp questions that keep people hooked. There's a restless energy in how she speaks, pushing the idea that there may be more beneath the surface. That's where the real split shows. While others focus on tribute and unity, Candace leans into uncertainty, suggesting there could be hidden layers still waiting to come out. And her audience stays locked in, watching every move, replaying every clip, hanging on every word. Candace Owens once held a role at a Turning Point USA, but after her split from that world, she came back with a completely different energy. She's no longer just a commentator. She positions herself as someone on a mission, using her platform to challenge everything and everyone in sight. She doesn't stop at questioning the alleged shooter. She widens the scope fast. She calls out institutions, other media figures, and publications she believes are shaping the narrative, suggesting there's more coordination behind the scenes than people realize. Her claims get stronger as she goes, pulling in bigger names and higher stakes with each new statement. At one point, she tells her audience that Kirk may have been facing threats connected to powerful interests, even bringing up billionaire Bill Ackman and referencing a private meeting in the Hamptons. That claim spreads quickly, sparking intense reactions across platforms. Ackman responds directly, pushing back with his own evidence. He shares what he describes as clear, polite text exchanges with Kirk, firmly stating, "At no time have I ever threatened Charlie." The clash adds even more tension, turning the situation into a back and forth that keeps people watching closely. And then it pulls in even bigger attention. Netanyahu himself steps in, issuing firm denials. He calls the rumors of any Israeli involvement insane and outrageous, trying to shut the claims down completely. But for Candace and the people following her closely, those statements don't calm things. They actually add more fuel to the conversation. The stronger the pushback gets, the more it convinces them that something deeper might be getting covered up. That back and forth keeps the story alive, growing louder and more intense by the day. And this focus didn't just appear out of nowhere. It starts connecting back to familiar names and past associations, including Eric Bolling, who once sat on Turning Point's advisory board, adding another layer for people to dig into and debate. Eric Bolling admits there was tension brewing long before all of this exploded. He describes a quiet split between Kirk and Owens, saying things started to shift when her ideas pushed into territory that didn't sit well with the brand. According to him, it wasn't some loud fallout. It was more subtle than that. Kirk stayed respectful on the surface, but the connection cooled off, turning into something distant and formal, like a handshake with no real warmth behind it. And that distance still lingers now, maybe stronger than ever. With Owens speaking from the outside, there's no direct connection to Erica Kirk at all. That gap leaves room for friction to grow, and it shows in how sharp everything has become. This doesn't come across like old friends disagreeing. It feels way more intense, like someone who used to be close now, pushing back from the outside with nothing holding them back. At the same time, the media space turns into a full-on battleground. Podcasts become the front lines, where reactions hit fast and unfiltered. Even Joe Rogan, known for his laid-back confidence, shifts tone mid-show when news of Kirk's shooting breaks, dropping the usual vibe as the weight of the moment cuts through everything. He doesn't jump straight into conspiracy claims, but he leans into what he's known for, asking the kind of questions that stick in people's minds. He brings up a scenario that sounds hard to ignore. How does an untrained kid supposedly climb up, together a rifle, and land a precise shot in broad daylight without drawing attention? He calls that idea hard to believe, and just putting that doubt out there gets people thinking. That moment spreads fast, reaching a massive audience and sparking more skepticism toward official statements. Suddenly, trust starts to crack, and people begin questioning what they're being told by investigators and authorities. Suspicion doesn't feel like background noise anymore. It becomes something people trade, share, and build conversations around. As all of this keeps spinning, the situation grows more divided. What was once a unified space starts to show fractures, with different voices pulling in different directions. And in the middle of it all, Erica Kirk continues trying to stay composed, working to rise above the noise while everything around her gets louder and harder to control. At a vigil held at the Kennedy Center, Erica stands beside her 2 children, keeping her composure under the bright lights and heavy attention. She speaks briefly, thanking members of Congress for their support and promising to carry forward Charlie's mission. Her tone stays calm and steady, almost untouchable, like she's determined not to let the chaos shake her in public. But that calm image doesn't stop the backlash. It starts building from within the faith community itself. Rob McCoy, Kirk's pastor and co-chair of Turning Point's Faith Division, steps in publicly and doesn't hold back. He takes to social media and even speaks from the pulpit, directly calling out Owens by name. McCoy insists that Charlie never spoke badly about Candace, even during disagreements, and he pushes hard for respect and restraint. He criticizes what he sees as gossip and implication, urging her to handle the situation with dignity. In his words, Charlie would never have treated Candace or her family this way had the tragedy been hers. It's a strong appeal meant to calm everything down, but it doesn't land the way he hoped. Instead of easing tensions, it barely slows things at all. Owens responds by doubling down, telling her audience to stay alert and question anyone urging silence. She frames it as a warning, saying people should be cautious of those trying to shut down conversations about Charlie's assassination, keeping the intensity turned all the way up. Every time Erica steps forward with calm and dignity, making it clear she won't let anger take over her husband's mission, Candace fires back with non-stop intensity online. Her tone hits like a warning siren, loud and impossible to ignore. She tells her massive audience that silence equals complicity, pushing the idea that staying quiet is just as bad as being involved. Her message is direct and sharp. She argues the real issue is how fast, powerful circles seem ready to move on, like nothing even happened. That claim alone keeps people locked in, watching the divide grow wider by the day. And just like that, the entire scene splits in two. On one side, the widow stands firm, composed, refusing to get pulled into the chaos or respond to every jab. On the other side, Candace comes in loud and relentless, questioning everything and suggesting there's more beneath the surface. The contrast is intense, and people can't stop watching it unfold. It raises a bigger question that keeps echoing everywhere. What does real grief even look like in a moment like this? Is it quiet strength, or is it loud outrage? Erica keeps her message focused, repeating that her husband's mission will continue. Meanwhile, Owens pushes back hard, warning her audience that ignoring the situation could be just as dangerous as the event itself. And while all this tension is still fresh, before anything fully settles, Turning Point USA pushes forward again. The American Comeback Tour doesn't slow down, it ramps up. bigger crowds, louder energy, more momentum than before. There's no long pause, no clear moment to process everything publicly, just a fast return to the spotlight that leaves people questioning how it all moved so quickly. Instead of slowing down, the whole situation shifts into something else entirely, a full-on showcase that grabs attention from every angle. It starts to feel less like reflection and more like a high-stakes moment where new voices are stepping up, each trying to carry influence forward in their own way. Campus stages fill up fast with big-name figures, creating a packed lineup that keeps the spotlight moving. One after another, familiar personalities step in. Tucker Carlson, Megyn Kelly, Vivek Ramaswamy, each delivering their take, each drawing energy from the crowd. They speak about legacy, direction, and what comes next, all while the attention keeps building around them. Some commentators start pointing out how similar the tone and style feel across appearances, noting how closely certain moments mirror what people associate with Kirk's presence. That comparison spreads quickly, and once people notice it, it becomes part of the conversation everywhere. Across panels and events, speakers stand beneath massive images of Kirk, promising to honor what he built. But at the same time, there's a clear push to stand out, to be the voice that resonates the most. Each appearance feels a little bigger, a little louder, as everyone tries to leave their mark in a space that suddenly feels wide open. There's a strange tension running through it all. What's meant to be tribute starts blending with ambition, and that shift becomes harder to ignore. With Kirk gone, there's an undeniable gap, and the attention around who might rise next only keeps growing stronger, especially as it all builds toward moments like his own memorial, where emotions and expectations collide. Arizona's State Farm Stadium fills up fast, but it's not quiet or reflective like some might expect. The energy feels more like a rally, loud and charged, with people reacting in real time. When Tucker Carlson steps up, his eulogy doesn't just mix faith and politics. It pushes them together in a way that gets people talking immediately. He makes a bold comparison, linking Kirk's fate to something deeply symbolic, and then shifts into a more cryptic tone. At one point, he references a bunch of guys eating hummus, thinking about what to do about this guy telling the truth. The line lands in a way that sparks reactions across the board, with people interpreting it in very different ways. It's a style people recognize, leaving things open-ended while still sending a strong message. Some hear it as metaphor, others see it as something more pointed, and that tension keeps the conversation going long after the speech ends. By the time it wraps up, any sense of unity feels thinner than before. Instead of coming together, different voices start pulling in their own directions. What was once a shared movement begins to look more divided, with competing perspectives all trying to define what comes next. Kirk's legacy, instead of staying fixed, starts getting interpreted in multiple ways. It becomes something people reference, shape, and sometimes even leverage to support their own positions. And while all of this plays out on stage, another layer builds behind the scenes. Candace Owens turns her focus toward billionaire Bill Ackman, describing him as a powerful figure operating behind closed doors. She claims he called Kirk into a private meeting in the Hamptons, framing it as an attempt to confront him over his evolving views on international issues, including Israel and the conflict in Gaza. According to her, that meeting wasn't as harmless as it sounded. She frames it as a moment where pressure was applied, subtle, indirect, dressed up like friendly advice, but carrying a sharper edge underneath. At the same time, she leaves just enough space in her wording to avoid making anything fully concrete. Still, the idea sticks, and once it's out there, people start running with it. Ackman responds quickly, pushing back with his own version of events. He shares screenshots of what he describes as respectful, even warm conversations with Kirk. No threats, no tension, just what he calls normal, behind-the-scenes discussions. He presents it as routine, nothing out of the ordinary. Then Andrew Culvet, Turning Point's executive producer, steps in and backs that up. He describes the Hamptons meeting as productive and cordial, directly rejecting the darker version being pushed. On paper, it sounds like a clear rebuttal, but in this environment, things don't settle that easily, because here's where it gets complicated. For Owens' audience, denials don't always close the case. They sometimes make it more intriguing. Every response, every receipt ends up being re-examined, picked apart, and folded back into the bigger narrative. Instead of shutting things down, it can actually keep the speculation alive. And it doesn't stop with one person. The conversation expands into bigger questions about influence, alliances, and shifting positions. Kirk's evolving stance on international issues, including Israel, becomes another flashpoint that people debate intensely. From there, the theories spread fast. Some voices start suggesting that power and influence could shape who gets support and who doesn't, while others push back hard, calling those ideas exaggerated or opportunistic. Soon, the entire media space feels like a non-stop clash. Podcasts turn into battlegrounds of competing takes, with hosts trying to outpace each other's arguments. Some claim Kirk's shifting views made him a target, while others argue that narrative goes too far and distracts from reality. The divide keeps growing, with each side pulling in its own direction and the noise only getting louder. The result isn't clarity, it's a full-on maze that keeps twisting. Every angle shows a different possible villain. Every theory stacks on top of the last, and every denial or rebuttal just spins the whole thing faster. The noise builds nonstop, pulling more names into the spotlight. It even reaches the highest levels. Benjamin Netanyahu himself steps in, issuing 2 separate denials as the rumors spread wider than expected. Suddenly, you've got billionaires, global leaders, and major podcast voices all tangled in the same storm, clashing over the legacy of someone whose loss is still fresh. The scale of it feels unreal, like it's growing faster than anyone can control. The spectacle takes over completely. Lawmakers start weighing in, adding more attention, more pressure, more headlines. Even controversial websites begin tracking and archiving statements, which critics claim creates an environment where people feel targeted for speaking out. That only adds another layer of tension to an already chaotic situation. But while all of this plays out in public, something more personal starts unfolding behind the scenes. The real strain begins to show within the Kirk family itself, where emotions are already running high. According to reports from people close to the situation, some relatives quietly begin asking difficult questions. They wonder if Erica is holding anything back, if her calm public image feels too controlled, too precise under pressure. Those thoughts start circulating, creating unease during an already painful time. At the same time, other family members push back strongly against those ideas. They insist the speculation has no basis and argue that the focus should stay on protecting the children from the growing media storm. Inside the family, it becomes another divide. One side questioning, the other defending, all while the outside world keeps watching closely. There are no official filings, no confirmed statements on record, just a heavy tension that keeps building behind closed doors. It's the kind of pressure that grows when the outside world won't stop watching, analyzing, and speculating about every detail. For Erica, the situation starts to feel like a no-win scenario. On one side, Candace Owens keeps the pressure on through her platform, raising questions and keeping attention locked in. On the other side, parts of the same movement that once stood together now seem to be turning inward, with grief playing out under a harsh public spotlight. Eric Bolling, still close enough to the inner circle to speak openly, offers his perspective. He describes Owens as someone who has long leaned into more extreme lines of thinking, saying her departure in the past didn't come out of nowhere. He frames it as a decision tied to maintaining stability, suggesting her presence could shake an already tense environment. But even that explanation adds another layer to the story. Because at this point, every comment, every opinion starts to sound like a signal of something deeper going on. The Kirk family's silence, once seen as respectful and composed, begins to get interpreted in different ways. Some view it as strength under pressure, while others start questioning whether it's a form of protection from the public or even from the growing tension within. Meanwhile, every word Erica says publicly carries more weight than ever. Each statement, each appearance gets analyzed from every angle. People begin to see them in completely different ways, either as a steady stand for dignity or as a sign that something bigger might still be unfolding beneath the surface. While podcasts and public tributes compete for attention, Candace Owens keeps turning up the intensity. She tells her audience that the case points to serious corruption at high levels, framing it as something far bigger than a single act of violence. She questions the official investigation, suggesting that authorities may be rushing to conclusions instead of fully addressing every detail. She focuses heavily on what she sees as gaps in the story. She points to the lack of widely confirmed footage showing Tyler Robinson at the exact moment, raises concerns about timelines that don't fully line up, and highlights eyewitness accounts that describe a shooter in tactical-style gear. Each of these points becomes part of a larger argument that the situation deserves deeper scrutiny. In her words, "I'm sure they're not coming out and being honest," she says, reinforcing her belief that key information could be missing from the public narrative. She builds her case by connecting these unanswered questions, encouraging her audience to think critically about what they're being told and what might still be unclear. At the same time, others push back strongly against these claims, arguing that speculation without confirmed evidence can quickly spiral and create more confusion. That tension between questioning and verification keeps the conversation heated and constantly evolving. As her message spreads, the attention around Erica grows even more intense. What started as a single disagreement now feels like a much larger divide. Within a week, the situation escalates beyond just two individuals. It becomes a broader conflict playing out across online spaces. Different voices take sides, and the contrast becomes impossible to miss. Clips of Erica's calm, measured statements circulate alongside Candace's more forceful commentary, with audiences reacting in completely different ways. Comment sections fill up fast, split between those calling for patience and clarity and those demanding deeper answers right now. Half the public rallies behind Erica, seeing her as a dignified widow handling unimaginable pressure, while the other half starts questioning everything about her. The divide shows up everywhere, especially in the hashtags taking over feeds. Hashtag Justice for Charlie sits right next to hashtag Erica Knows and hashtag Who Pulled the Trigger, each one pulling people in a different direction. Every new podcast, every live stream keeps the momentum going. Candace doubles down on her angle, pressing hard on the idea of a cover-up and demanding more answers about Tyler Robinson. She frames him as a possible fall guy, suggesting his name was used to wrap things up quickly and move on. At the same time, her audience pushes those claims even further, sharing clips, theories, and breakdowns nonstop. Meanwhile, Erica stays in control publicly, calm, measured, and careful with every appearance. She doesn't react, doesn't lash out, and refuses to get pulled into the chaos. But that silence cuts both ways. To some, it shows strength and discipline under pressure. To others, it raises more questions, especially in a space where loud reactions tend to dominate attention. Behind the scenes, reports suggest the strain inside the Kirk family is growing. Some relatives are said to be quietly questioning things, wondering if something feels off about how everything is unfolding. Others push back hard, defending Erica and insisting she's focused on protecting her children from a situation that's already overwhelming. That internal tension doesn't stay private for long. Once talk of a divide gets out, it spreads fast. Family concerns turn into public debates, and those debates quickly spiral into larger online theories. Now, complete strangers are weighing in, arguing over who can be trusted based on fragments and speculation. At the same time, Erica's every move gets analyzed under a microscope. At a candlelight vigil, cameras zoom in closely, her hands steady, her posture controlled, no visible shake. Some online posts claim that level of composure looks rehearsed, while others argue it's simply how she's choosing to hold herself together in a painful moment. At another event, a single tear slips, and instantly it becomes a talking point. Every reaction, no matter how small, gets pulled into the larger narrative, keeping the spotlight intense and unrelenting. Skeptics don't hold back at all. They say any emotional moment from Erica comes off as too late or too calculated, while others argue the opposite when she stays composed. Every tiny detail gets picked apart. Every blink, every pause, every breath suddenly turned into evidence by someone online. It puts her in an impossible position. If she shows visible emotion, some people question whether it's genuine. If she stays strong and steady, others call her distant. There's no version of her response that satisfies everyone watching. Meanwhile, Candace leans fully into that same level of scrutiny, but flips it into momentum for her message. Her delivery shifts between controlled intensity and emotional emphasis, keeping her audience locked in. One moment she's calm and deliberate. The next, she's raising her voice, pushing urgency into every word. She repeats a key phrase over and over, prepackaged conclusion, to describe how she views the investigation. According to her, the outcome is being decided too quickly, before every question has been fully explored. She also hints at unnamed insiders, suggesting that information could be coming from people close to the situation. Whether those claims are verified or not, the suggestion alone drives huge engagement. Her audience runs with it, building theories, sharing clips, and digging for anything that might support the idea. At the same time, other voices start stepping in, and the divide grows even wider. Some, like Glenn Beck, try to calm things down, calling for patience, unity, and reflection instead of escalation. But not everyone follows that tone. Smaller creators jump in, echoing Candace's arguments and pushing them even further to capture attention. Others stay firmly aligned with the original narrative, defending Erica and backing the official investigation. In their view, Candace's approach crosses a line, and they call it out directly. What used to feel like one unified space now looks fractured into competing sides. Instead of coming together around a shared loss, people are pulling in different directions, each claiming to represent the truth. Even in Washington, the impact shows up. A few lawmakers bring up Charlie's name in speeches, describing him as a symbol tied to larger issues like free speech, adding yet another layer to an already intense and emotional situation. But the underlying tension is hard to miss. It's not just about honoring him anymore. There's a sense that people are also trying to hold on to his audience, his influence, his space. That shift becomes clearer when moments start going viral, like when one congressman declares, "If Charlie's voice is silenced, then it's our duty to speak louder." The clip spreads everywhere, replayed again and again, and that's where the contradiction hits. Instead of simply remembering Charlie's voice, it starts to feel like it's being reshaped, reused, and reintroduced in different ways depending on who's speaking. Right in the center of all this, Erica and Candace come to represent two completely different approaches. The widow and the outsider, silence and intensity, restraint and confrontation. Each one becomes a symbol for a different interpretation of what Charlie's death means. The media frames it as competing narratives, but for the people watching closely, it feels more personal than that. It turns into a question of trust. Who sounds more believable? Who feels more real in how they respond? On one side, Erica stays composed, repeating that the mission will continue, keeping her focus tight and controlled. On the other, Candace pushes hard, in the opposite direction, challenging the story and urging people to question everything they're hearing. By the end of the first week, the focus has clearly shifted. It's no longer just about what happened. It's about which version of events people are willing to accept. Erica stands firm, focused on protecting her family and maintaining a steady presence in the middle of chaos. Candace stays loud and relentless, using her platform to keep the conversation active and intense. What was once a unified movement now looks fragmented, with different voices pulling attention in every direction. And at the center of it all, Charlie Kirk's presence lingers, not as something bringing people together, but as the spark that set off a much larger and ongoing clash. That spark doesn't fade, it spreads. Now the narrative starts turning in on itself, pulling everything into a cycle of accusation and counter-accusation that just won't slow down. The movement Charlie Kirk helped build begins to fracture under the pressure, with every new podcast and viral clip pushing the divide even further. The clash between the composed widow and the relentless challenger keeps escalating. Each appearance, each statement adds another layer to the tension, making it harder for anything to settle. Erica Kirk finds herself right in the middle of it all, seen by some as a symbol of strength and by others as a target for criticism. She focuses on protecting her children and holding her ground, while around her, voices connected to her late husband's world compete for attention, influence, and direction. Some call for unity and respect, especially from within the faith community, urging people to slow things down and keep dignity at the center. But those calls struggle to break through the noise, because the media space keeps pushing forward. Big personalities continue shaping the conversation in their own ways. Tucker Carlson with layered commentary, Candace Owens raising more questions and possibilities that keep audiences engaged. And circling through it all is that central question that refuses to go away. People debate different angles, different possibilities, trying to make sense of something that still feels unresolved. The result is a situation that feels unpredictable and hard to control. Every side believes they're getting closer to the truth, but the deeper the discussion goes, the more complicated it seems. What's left is a wave of uncertainty, with a movement, a family, and a public conversation all caught in the aftermath of a single moment that changed everything. So now it comes down to this. Who gets to decide how this story ends? The question is wide open, and people everywhere are forming their own conclusions. Some see it as a tragic act of violence, while others are convinced there's a deeper story still waiting to surface. Now the spotlight shifts to you. What do you think really happened? Is this exactly what it looks like, or is there something bigger hiding beneath all the noise? Drop your thoughts and theories in the comments and let your voice be heard. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to stay locked in, and share this with anyone following the story. Because one thing is clear, this situation is far from over, and the conversation isn't slowing down anytime soon.